I want you to take extra special care of this vehicle. Okay?
Hey, no problem.
Great.
Trust me. Sir.
Come on. Have
Relax. You fellas are nothing to worry about. I'm a professional.
Professional what?
see what a Finsky can do to a guy's attitude? Cameron, come on.
Welcome to Practical AI, everybody. My name's Jeff. I'm with Peter Lynn. Peter, today we wanted to talk a little bit about interpretability, a topic we've covered before. Give us the sort of the working definition of interpretability and kind of why it matters in the ML space.
Yeah. So in layman terms, in a non-technical term, it's being able to actually look at the model weights and say for sure that, okay, this is what the model is doing, and these are the parts of the model that's doing it. So being able to specifically say layer 3, this set of weights from 2.2 to 2.10 is doing this, or from 3.5 to 8.8, it's doing this, right? Of actually being able to say exactly what the weights are doing.
Okay, so if we could just give an example, I pushed through in a computer vision model, I pushed through a picture of the Mona Lisa. And at certain places, the parameters fire. And so you're excited, you think you've got it figured out. You say, okay, I know exactly what's happening. But there's a problem, right? It doesn't always work that well when they do this. What typically goes wrong or what happens?
So the approach they use is called probe. So if you think about cars from the 1920s and 30s, where if your car was running kind of bad, you had no clue. You had taken it to the mechanic and he would take it apart. Today, if you got a modern car, it's got sensors, it's got probes everywhere. Tire pressure, gas, oil, engine, transmission, your mirrors, right? Like everything's got a probe now. So basically the approach today is they probe the model and then they ask it to do things. Give it a prompt or give it an image. See what lights up. And then try to correlate that with the output. And the problem is you can feed two different images of Mona Lisa or a cat or a dog or whatever, and you get wildly different results. And so then how do you correlate the output with what I thought it was important at each layer?
Okay, so before we get back to the Mona Lisa, why is this important? Why is interpretability important or valuable?
So the reason why it's important is most of the papers that have been published that have done kind of probes for alignment or safety have shown that what we thought the model was doing. So in other words, someone probed a model and said, okay, here's a mouse or here's a game. Let's have the character go through from the start of the maze to the end. Right. So they thought, okay, clearly it's learning this. But then when they changed the puzzles a little bit, it just failed completely. And they realized, oh, actually, well, we thought it was recognizing certain things in the mazes, but it actually wasn't.
Again, so we have a situation where it's not actually doing what we thought it was going to do, right? So it can't solve the maze, or it can't tell a green apple from a red apple, or whatever. But why is that important? Why do people care about interpretability? Does it
Well,
matter?
it's important if you want to make sure your models are safe. One, that's the first kind of the big priority of like, okay, this is model going to do the thing I want it to do and not something else. So that's the
Okay,
first.
so like a defense thing, if I've got a autopiloted missile that's supposed to take out Vladimir Putin,
Or
You
even
want to make sure that it doesn't hit some person on the street besides him.
right. So let's say someone says, I want a can opener that can open a can in less than 1 second because they don't want to sit there and crank, right? Well, as a consumer, when you buy it, you want to make sure that it, in the process of removing the lid or from the can, it doesn't blow your face off.
Okay. Okay, so safety is we've demonstrated, I think, that safety does actually matter in these things. It's maybe hard to calculate safety in a red apple versus a green apple.
Yeah.
But when you start applying it to stuff that impacts a human, then there.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you think is going to happen then with this sort of probe technique of interpretability? How long until they get there in terms of being able to determine whether a model does what it claims it does?
So no one knows the answer is the punchline. There are people working on it. There's about 5 or 6 groups around the world in total that are working on this problem of, interpret the weights. But there have been developments like the Rome paper where researchers at MIT were able to make a language model give the wrong answer to the question, where is the Eiffel Tower? Right? So that shows that you can edit the memories and you can edit the model so that it spits out some city that's not Paris when asked where's the Eiffel Tower. So that's a good move, right? Because now you can actually edit the memories in LLM and make it give the wrong result, even though originally it was trained and it gave the correct result. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you can control all possible prompts related to Eiffel Tower, right? It just means that given a small set of questions that look similar, you can have it give the wrong answer.
Are there enough groups working on interpretability?
No, it's very, very small.
And what do you think the future is going to be for interpretability, or what needs to happen?
I think we need 10 times or 100 times more people working on the problem because it's a really tough problem to crack. The downside is no one wants to fund it because it's going to take 5 to 20 years to actually kind of crack that nut. And so no one wants to spend that much money. So that means it's up to open source, basically.
No one wants to spend the money unless there's a way to make money at it. And
Right. Yes.
that obviously isn't apparent yet, that there's a money driver behind this, that interpretability pays off.
Yeah, I mean, it will pay off eventually because if you can interpret the weights, you should be able to reduce models by 1,000 or 10,000 times,
Okay.
which means that now you might not need 20,000 A100 GPUs. You might only need a 24090s, which is way cheaper. I mean, a 4090 today goes for 12 or 1,400. A100 goes for 25 or 20K.
So the assumption in there is that within these big models, there are lots of layers and millions or billions of activations or weights, parameters that are useless.
Yeah, well, we know that to be true because the 70 billion llama model has performed comparable to GPT-3 and 3.5 on benchmarks.
Which is what, 800 billion or something like that, or what's?
Well, they haven't said. So GPT-2 was 178 billion, so 3 is probably 300 billion or more.
Okay.
So you go from 300 billion down to 70 billion. That's a big difference.
Yeah, very big. Well, so ultimately, we need more people in research doing more around interpretability
Yeah.
in order to get the safety that would be required to really commercialize and make
Yeah.
these machine learning solutions safe, reliable, trustworthy with the public.
Yeah. Yeah, and the big companies have no motivation to do it, right? Because They're busy making money. And their
Yeah.
focus is money.
Well, they're busy exploring space and they're not worried about bringing people up into space right now, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Peter, another great topic. Thanks for giving us your brain for a little bit. Be sure to ask, like, and subscribe. We'd be happy to answer any questions. And if you got any good topics, let us know. Take care, everybody.